What's going on, everybody? It's EricRayweather back here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about something that's very controversial right now in the Madden community. Something that EA did with the latest update that I don't think a lot of people are fans with. I myself am not really a fan of it. I think they might have messed up a little bit here, but that's why I want to make this video. I want to kind of hear your guys' feedback, see what you guys think about it, and I like to have discussions about things like this because I do think this is something that could potentially be a bad turn for the game, and I don't like the door that this is potentially opening up. So with the latest update, we got a whole slew of new offensive line abilities. Now right off the bat, that was great. We needed offensive line abilities. Now the problem is some of the passing blocking abilities don't really seem to be working that well, but that's kind of another topic. They need to tune that. I'm sure they will. But it was good to see the offensive line get abilities now, because the defensive line was so powerful that, you know, quite frankly, we need something on the other side of that to, you know, be able to combat that. But with these new abilities, they introduced one that is very controversial right now, and a lot of people are just not really too sure about it. And what it's called is Threat Detector. Now, a lineman that has Threat Detector, what this does is it lets you know pre-play, like pre-snap. It'll let you know on 3rd and 4th downs only, not every down, but still 3rd and 4th down, those are your biggest downs. It's letting you know who is blitzing on the play pre-snap. So what it'll do is it'll highlight, if no one's blitzing, if it's just like a regular pass rush, then nobody will be highlighted. But if there's an extra guy that's rushing, it's going to highlight him with like a red exclamation point over his head. Now, there's nobody on the regular rosters that have this right now. I'm sure at some point somebody will get this. But where this is definitely going to be a bigger problem, at least currently, is in Ultimate Team, because you can actually equip this ability yourself if you want. You can only equip 3 abilities on each side of the ball, so yes, it is a big decision. Do you want this advantage or do you don't? But my problem is with the advantage in itself, and believe me, this will come to regular teams at some point, because they're going to update abilities throughout the year, and you know, one of those guys on one of the teams are going to get this ability, and if it's a guy that's on one of the teams that's good already, you know, that can be an issue. So I want you to watch this clip right here that I'm going to pull up. It's of Dub.Dubby and his stream. I'm going to have a stream link below if you want to go check him out. Definitely should go give him a follow. He's one of the best Madden streamers, most entertaining Madden streamers. But you can see on the screen the red exclamation points over the 3 players. So he audibles to a different formation, and now you see that there's only one guy with the exclamation point over his head because the guy switched his defense. So he knows every step of the way on 3rd and 4th down who is blitzing him. And to me, when it comes to the abilities, yeah, like we knew some would probably be a little overpowered, some would be maybe a little crazy, and I'm not completely against that. It adds a little bit of fun to the game, right? But what I don't like are abilities that kind of just do too much work for you with no user input. So what I mean by that is, yes, the jukebox ability, the armbar ability are very powerful this year, but at least you have to have some kind of user input to make it happen. You have to time it, you have to set yourself up, and on the other side of the ball, if the defense has a good user, right? If you're coming at me with a stiff arm and I square up and I cut stick you with the legs, you can't stiff arm me. I can make the right input and I can cancel you out. If you try to jukebox me, but I line up on the inside of you, you're going to juke into my body, and most of the times I'll make the tackle. Sometimes you might, I might dumb out, you might get that lucky, the Madden luck, things might glitch out, sure, that could happen. But for the most part, if I'm being the better user, I can take you out. Now, the problem when it comes to offense and defensive line, especially offensive line, is you can't control these guys. So there is no user input when it comes to controlling these guys, because on the defensive side of the ball, we have the pass rushing abilities, which I think are the most dominant abilities in the game. And those things are very overpowered, to the point where you can literally drop 8 guys back, you could rush 3, and if you have at least one guy that has a superstar pass rushing ability, you're going to get to the quarterback pretty consistently. And you can do that in regular teams. Now, if you're an Ultimate Team and you choose to put 2 or 3 guys on your D-line with pass rushing abilities, yeah, you're going to get to the QB really quickly at most downs. But I still feel like there's ways around it. I feel like there are ways that you can get around this. It is a little bit tougher, but I'm not completely against it. But when it comes to something like Threat Detector, there's literally nothing you can do to get around that. It's literally giving your opponent the information about what you're doing on your side of the ball, when the whole game of football on both sides is disguise, right? You're trying to make them think you're doing something else. Is he running? Is he passing? Is it a play action? I think he's running this play, but he's actually running an opposite play. I think he's blitzing, but he's actually dropping guys back. Like, I could show blitz and bring all my guys at the line, and you could think I'm blitzing, but I might be dropping 7 or 8 guys back, but it looked like they're blitzing because I'm bluffing you. And then on some plays, I might actually blitz them all, and then that makes you have to, like, calculate what's going on immediately, diagnose it, and make a quick read. But if you have an ability that's going to say, well, on 3rd and 4th down, I lose all that, ability to disguise my defense, and you just know who's blitzing or who's not blitzing. You know if I'm in coverage defense or not, because if you don't see any red exclamation points, then you know I'm in coverage defense. You know that it's either a base 3 or 4 man rush and I'm playing coverage. If you see multiple guys with the red exclamation point, you know, okay, he's sending the heat. On the most important downs of the game, and there's no user input, there's no user skill to it. There's nothing you have to do. You just get the information simply because one of your offensive linemen has that ability. And there's nothing I can do on the opposite side of the ball to fake you out now. Like, how can I disguise my coverage? I mean, yeah, I can disguise what the coverage shell is. I could be in a cover 2, I could be in a cover 3, I could be in man. But the fact that you know who's blitzing or who's not, it kind of negates all that, because if I see that you're blitzing 6 guys, well, I know that there's going to be a quick pass open in one of these, like, 2 spots on either side for the most part, and I can just quick pass you immediately. I can put the hot route there, quick pass you. And yes, when you talk about the defensive pass rushers, right? Well, there's really no skill to that either. Those guys just come off the edge quick. There's nothing you have to do about it. I understand that. But I feel like, at least offensively, you know that you're going against these type of pass rushers. You see them on the field. They're highlighted. So I know that you got guys that are coming quick. So I can change my offense up and what I want to do to account for that. I could block extra people. I could double team you now with the new double team mechanic. I could slide to one side and have a running back on the backside. And yes, those guys will still eventually get to you because they're very good. But I can do things to buy more time. I can go get me a quarterback that's mobile, that is it's very easy to evade those guys if you have a mobile QB, because they block shit kind of going up the field, and you can split the gaps with the mobile QB. There's things you can do to counterbalance this, but when it comes to something like threat detector that just tells you who is blitzing, there's literally nothing you can do to combat that. There's absolutely nothing. You're just giving away the most important part of what I'm trying to do on defense, which is try to make you guess, am I bringing pressure or am I not bringing pressure? Now, yes, there's some people that just blitz every play of the game. There's some people that just play coverage every play of the game. So against people like that, yes, something like this doesn't matter as much. But for people that actually do switch it up, this is a huge disadvantage to the defense. And what's more important is not just this ability in itself, but it's the door that it's opening. Because at some, if we're okay with doing this, then how long before we say, well, there's an ability that's going to show the entire defensive play art on 3rd and 4th down? Or maybe just on 4th down, right? But it doesn't matter. On any down, that shouldn't be possible, right? How long before it's like, well, there's an ability that could show you the coverage shell. So in other words, you would know if it's a cover 2, a cover 3, something like that. How long before something like that happens? Because that was in the game in Madden 08. That was a feature that was in the game in Madden 08 when they had the weapon system. It was one of the few weapons that actually did change something about the gameplay, where if you ran a play too many times, it would at some point, like if you had like Ed Reed or Ray Lewis, like one of those guys that were like smart defenders, if you ran a play like 5 times, on that 5th time they would show the play art, because they would diagnose like, okay, they're in this formation again, they keep running the same play, so it's probably the same play. It would show the play art. Now with that, at least with something like that, the play had to be run multiple times before it would show you that. So you knew if you were going up against a guy that had that ability, well, I have to switch my plays up. I can't just spam the same play. And if I do spam the same play, I'm giving that up. At least in that case, you kind of knew there was something you could do about it. Again, when you go back to something like threat detector, there's nothing you can do to avoid that. It's just 3rd and 4th downs that they're going to know. It doesn't matter if you run the same defense over and over, or you're switching your defenses up. It doesn't matter if you're switching formations up or if you're in the same formation. They're going to know no matter what. There's nothing that actually has to happen in order for that advantage to be had. At least in Madden 08, when they had that advantage, you had to be spamming the same play multiple times for that to happen. And then I do believe after you ran that play maybe once or twice, after they were able to see it, it would reset again, and then you would have the same process would have to repeat. So they wouldn't just see that play art for the rest of the game. I believe that's how it worked. Something like that, not as bad, because again, there's criteria that had to be met before they did that, and you knew what that criteria was. With something like threat detector, that's not the case. And again, will that open the door to something like showing the play art again? Telling if it's run or pass. That's what I don't like, because if we're okay with doing this, then I feel like that means we're okay with taking it even further and further and further. You know, we've seen the baby steps of stuff like this happen with other features. And yes, like, you know, sometimes EA can put something in the game that is a bad idea. I think abilities overall, I know some people, you know, they're kind of split on it. Some people think that we're on too much of a slippery slope. Some of these things are too overpowered. I think for the most part, I like them. Some of them definitely are more powerful than others, but I think they add uniqueness to the game, and I'm fine with that. And most of them at least require some type of user input, and on the opposite side of the field, there is a user ability that can kind of negate it. Threat detector is not that thing. There's no user ability that you have to, there's nothing you have to do to get that advantage, and there's nothing the other side of the ball can do to negate that advantage, and that's what I don't like. And some people will say, well, there are linemen in the league that can point out who's blitzing on plays. They're very smart. They can pick that up. And that's true in some cases, but it's not definite, because usually what linemen do in the NFL, they're going to point out who the mic is, and then they pretty much call the pass protection based off that. They could be right, they could be wrong. And there are people that, yeah, they will call out sometimes maybe who's blitzing, or, you know, and sometimes they are right, but they're not right every single time. There are plenty of times where these guys are wrong because the defense is disguising themselves very good. With this ability, there's no wrong, you just know. And I could be blitzing 3 guys, you saw in the clip, and then I could change the defense. I could audible to where I'm blitzing 1 guy, and you'll see that. Then I could audible to where I'm blitzing 7 guys, whatever the case may be. You're going to see no matter what, even when I'm changing the play. So, you know, here's the thing. Everything that gets put in the game doesn't have to be a good idea. With any game that comes out, there are bad ideas that get put out there. It could be NBA 2K, FIFA, MLB The Show, it could be Street Fighter, doesn't matter what the game is. There's good things that get implemented into the game, and there's bad things that get implemented into the game. And I'm okay with bad things getting implemented in the sense that, you know, sometimes you think something's a good idea, you put it in, and maybe it's not a good idea. That's going to happen with anything, but I think that's why it's important to have these discussions and give this feedback, because if we think this is a bad idea, you know, maybe they can do something about it, or at least, at the very least, it could be something that doesn't make it in next year's game. I'm sure there's some people that really love this feature because they're bad against blitzes, and they love the fact that, oh, that this will tell me who's blitzing, but you have to think of the overall scope of the game, of what football is supposed to be, and I know that Madden isn't an exact representation of football the way people play it. People play it like a video game, I get it, but the disguise of defense and offense still exists in Madden. You can still disguise things. You can switch up plays out of the same formation and have them not know exactly what you're doing. You could switch up between blitzing and coverage, and when you add something like this in the game, you're taking that, you're getting one step closer to eliminating what we can do to disguise what we're doing on both sides of the ball, and that's the name of the game in both football and even with Madden, the way people play it. That's still a big component to the game, is disguising what you're doing. So I'd like to know your thoughts about it below. Personally, I don't like it. Most of the people I have talked to don't like the idea of this, more so not even just because of this, but like I said, more so the door that it's opening up about what could potentially happen. How far would EA take it if we're just okay with this? But I do believe if we give the feedback and say this is something we don't want in the game, then at the very least it won't at least make it to next year's game. It's something they'll say, okay, you know, maybe this wasn't the best idea, let's take this out, and let's not, more importantly, take it even further. So let me know below what you think. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, as always, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.